Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. Reliance Mutual Fund and CNBC TV-18 present Mutual Fund Day. Mission Prosperity.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Women today have moved way beyond the traditional arena of managing just households to managing boardrooms of multinational companies and even running governments. This shift is also seeing a larger number of women taking on the responsibility of managing finances for themselves as well as their families. Hello and welcome to our special series, Mutual Fund Day Life Hacks. I'm your host Mridhu Bhandari, and today on the show, we're discussing financial planning for women. On the show today, let's welcome our experts, Arun Sundaresan, Product Head at Reliance Nippon Life Asset Management Limited, and Pooja Bhinde, CFP at PB Investments. Thank you so much, Pooja and Arun, for joining us today, and welcome to the show. First up, women today are attaining financial independence at an early age. They are no longer choosing to get married immediately after education. So that gives them a fairly long period of time to become financially stable and create some amount of wealth before they start a family. So let's begin with the basics first, Arun. What are your top tips to women? How do they begin financial planning? Let's take it's a single woman who's just got her first job. What would your advice to her be?
Okay, so you started off, right on the note that I wanted to mention, that traditionally women are happy to let go of money matters with their male counterparts, father, brother, and later on with their husbands. Probably, they thought it was not their cup of tea, or possibly they found it too boring, right? But things are changing fast. Like you mentioned, women are having exceptional achievements across the board, whether it is women pilots, entrepreneurs, top-notch leaders, and increasingly they are also becoming more financially aware, and they're playing a good role in terms of managing their own finances as well. So that bodes very well. So when it comes to women who are just starting their career, so they have a very, very long way to go. And potentially if the marriage is not on the cards for some more time, they could start investing into equity-related funds through a systematic investment mode. Whatever salary they get, apart from their spending, probably they can save a part of that into systematic investment plans and equity funds till such time they get married. That will kind of help them create a good basket of good amount by the time they get married.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Pooja, you work with a lot of women, you advise a lot of women on financial aspects. What are some of the biggest trends that you've seen amongst women when it comes to saving? And they are traditionally good savers of money, but what will it take for them to become good multipliers of money?
I would say once they step out of the house and once they start earning, as you rightly said, they also should start investing. There is a difference between saving and investing, as women has this saving nature. Like, you would always see a woman with, lot of saving and bargaining and always having the budget right in place. So they are very good at that. But when it comes to investing, they feel that, investing money outside will come, it will attract a lot of risk. So whatever is their hard earned money, or it's a saved money, you say, they will not have a tendency to invest. So I would like to break this concept here, right here, that, whoever is stepping out of the house, whether earning or maybe, women sitting at their house, working, they are housewives also, they all should have an investment mentality. Right. Investment should come and, I would say it should develop into them right from this age. The trend is changing now.
Right. Arun, you mentioned getting into SIPs, investing in mutual funds. So give us a primer of sorts on the types of mutual fund categories available, because a lot of people are overwhelmed with the whole range of choice that they get once they've decided they want to get into mutual funds.
Absolutely. There are 42 asset management companies, a range of products. In fact, there are thousands of schemes. But at the basic level, mutual funds are very, very simple products. Broadly, I would say there are only three types of products: equity related, fixed income, and anything in between, what we call as hybrid funds.
Right.
So all the funds that you're seeing are just variations of this in one manner or the other. So if you look at equity funds, there could be a fund which invests into large cap companies.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there are mid cap and small cap companies as well, which if they do well, they could do exceptionally well, but so will the risk be on the higher side. So the risk and return are slightly different within equity. Likewise, you have in the fixed income schemes which are meant for very, very short term, as short term like 1 month, 3 months to, even within fixed income scheme where you can invest for 2 years, 3 years and beyond.
Yeah.
And there are hybrid funds. So at the basic level, it boils down to as simply as, these three asset class, depending on the requirement, depending on the individual circumstances, the risk return appetite, investors can choose one or combination of these products. It's as simple.
Right. So how much to invest and where to invest? Those are the top big questions for everyone, including women. So how diversified, in your opinion, should a portfolio be, and should a portfolio of, say, a homemaker and a working woman differ, or what's your opinion?
If you see, even a housewife is having some sort of income, like, maybe it can be a rental income, or maybe, she can get some gifts on certain occasions,
Right.
Marriages or birthdays and stuff. So all these kind of, inflows are majorly kept in cash or majorly kept at home, I would say, and they are not invested or not in fact deposited in the bank also. So these things should be changed in the system, I would say, once this goes to the bank account. Okay, so they have to diversify the funds or the schemes,
right,
depending on the goals. Like as even Arun said, like the large cap, the mid cap and the small cap, they have to be diversified depending on the period they're going to need or they're going to keep invested for that particular goal.
Okay, so can I ask you to elaborate on that? There are various life goals that a woman might have. As a single woman, you probably want to travel, you probably want to get some qualification, invest in yourself. Then when you have a family, there is children's education that's to be taken care of. There are family expenses, family vacations perhaps, purchases for the house. So how do you bucket these goals, and how do you link these life goals to financial goals?
So if you're talking about various goals, first is identify what are those goals. So if you're saying travel, yes, travel is a goal. Then get to the specifics of the goal. When is it going to happen? How much is, how much is the amount that you would require? You may not be perfect, obviously things could change over a period of time, but a ballpark figure also would help. So the first step is identifying that goal, specifying the details, then going about planning. So can I put a lump sum towards that particular goal, or should I systematically invest? So once you broadly decide on this, then you act on it, right? So these are a disciplined approach towards achieving your goal. At the outset, things are very, very simple. In finance, things actually boil down to only 4 things. One, what is it that you need, which is an amount that you require, right? Number 1. Second, when do you need it, which gives you so much time, which we call as time period or the number of years you have, to achieve that goal. Third is the rate of return.
Right.
Rate of return, depending on the asset class and investment, the rate of return will vary. And the last thing is, therefore, how much you need to do and what you need to do now. So these are the 4 variables. If you can get to as much specifics as possible, things can be worked out very well.
All right. Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time on the long-term goals, and maybe we can move backwards from those. One of the long-term goals is children's higher education, and that requires a huge corpus at a point in time, but the good thing is that you have some time before you reach that goal. So Pooja, how do you suggest one should start preparing for that, and do you recommend these children's plans that fund houses offer today? How do you recognize a good plan?
Yes, I would say, Mridu, the time you plan a baby, you have to start their investments as well. Like once you know you're going to have a baby, you know you're going to have a goal that is going to come. Maybe after 15 or 18 years, when he or she is going to be 18, there is going to be a higher education goal. Okay, there is going to be a basic education goal that is going to come, and we all want this kind of thing or this kind of goals to be inherited in financial planning as major goals, I would say. Today, if you see, marriage is a secondary goal. Initially, during the olden times, marriage was a major goal at that point of time, because getting your child married and investing that kind of money into spending that kind of money into marriages was like a huge thing, especially for the girl child. But today, since education has taken a leap over marriage, I would say count inflation into your goal, and then you have to discount it, that how much should we invest it from today. As you said, the investment options, number one, obviously SIP is good in a way to manage it, because every month it is getting deducted from your bank account. So that's an easier and convenient way, and a major role of SIP, or you can say a major benefit of SIP, is the power of compounding, which comes over the period of time. So 15 to 20 years can actually give you that kind of benefit in SIP.
Right. Interesting that you mentioned the power of compounding. So Arun, I'm going to ask you to illustrate that for us with respect to retirement planning in particular, because that's another goal that most people put off, and women in particular tend to think that, especially those who are supported by husbands or fathers or brothers, tend to think that that's something that's taken care of in the long run.
Okay, so the popular belief is that retirement is all about old age, let it wait. Now there are other important things to attend to, but let me tell you that retirement is the most important financial goal. It's simply because, retirement is not just about post-retirement. You need to build a sufficient corpus which will actually take care of your post-retirement time frame, which is going to be 20-25 years after you retire, probably more, right? Therefore, the earlier you start, the better for you. The power of compounding, which is hailed as the 8th wonder of the world, works for you.
Right, and stay invested for the long run.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so we're going to head into a short break at this point, but on the other side, the conversation around financial planning for women in particular will continue right here on Mutual Fund Day Life Hacks on CNBC TV-18.
Reliance Mutual Fund and CNBC TV-18 present Mutual Fund Day, Mission Prosperity.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Reliance Mutual Fund and CNBC TV-18 present Mutual Fund Day, Mission Prosperity.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Welcome back to Mutual Fund Day Life Hacks on CNBC TV-18. Our focus today is on financial planning for women. Let's talk a little bit about medium-term goals as well. A lot of women these days decide to take a break from their careers when they want to have kids. That break may range from 1 year to about 3 years at times. So how should one be preparing for that? Because you would want to remain financially independent and have a regular income coming in, even though you're not at work actively at that point in time. Arun?
So the most ideal way would be if you knew that in advance, that after 2 years or 3 years you're going to get into a break, and during which time, I'm assuming that the incomes don't come regularly, possibly you take a break, but still you have regular expenses to meet. So if you had known that before, the best way to do would have been to invest, to have a corpus then, through which you can get regular income. There is an interesting feature in mutual fund called a systematic withdrawal plan, SWP. So you invest into a scheme, suppose you invest 1 lakh or 10 lakh, and you know that the scheme has the potential to deliver, let's say, 9% return over a period of time. Then you could choose to withdraw that amount on a monthly basis, right? So you have control on your cash flow. Of course, your return is not guaranteed. It could vary a little bit, but as long as you get that 9% plus return over a period of time, that objective is taken care. But the systematic withdrawal plan also would have ensured that you get regular cash flows, which will help you meet those expenses during the time of that break. So that's a very good feature that one can take advantage of.
All right. Another interesting habit that we women have is that we like to put away some amount of cash for later use. So every time we get some gifts or we receive cash from somewhere, we put that away thinking that, okay, let me save this for a later time. But I guess the mistake that a lot of us make is that we just leave that cash with us at home or in the bank or wherever, and that money doesn't really grow. So give us options, Pooja, on how to make that money grow and work for you.
Many women, especially housewives, they have this concept of kitty parties. So if you see each and every household right now, upper middle class, or people are getting into this kitty party thing, wherein every month they put an X amount into that kitty party fund, and then every month each and every women, whatever month they decide, they get that amount to use. So this concept should be changed to a virtual kitty party, I would say, wherein put that money into SIP, okay, meet every month, use that money, spend it, enjoy it, but put your each and every one, should put their money into use.
Okay, that's an interesting suggestion for all the women out there. Arun, do you recommend liquid funds, putting your money into liquid funds rather than keeping it idle at home?
Absolutely. One, if you know for sure that you have a requirement in the very, very near term, it could be a kitty party or it could be whatever other contingency requirement. If you know for sure that you may require some amount, let's say 1 month or 3 month time, liquid funds serve that purpose very well. Potentially they could give you better return than one, obviously, keeping your money brushed under your bed, or even, keeping it idle in traditional investments. So return is not the main thing. Of course, you can also get that money at any point in time. They're very liquid. So you do a redemption, you'll get the money the next day. In fact, there is a facility called as instant redemption, where up to 50,000 you'll get the money on that day itself.
Right.
So that's a very good option.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about debt funds? Are they a good option as well?
Yeah, so whenever you seek more or less stable return with less volatility, you don't have too much equity, etc. Like we talked about a phase where a woman might want regular income, she may not want too much volatility. There the return is not the primary requirement. So their debt funds or maybe hybrid funds which have some bit of equity, those kind of funds can be preferred.
Okay, so as we close, I want one good piece of advice from each of you for women to become better money managers as well as wealth creators.
I would say whether you're working or whether you're a housewife, the concept of investment or the concept of investing should be there inside you from within, and the awareness should play a bigger role. You have to be at least aware about everything. If you're not even investing, or if you're not even an active investor in the family, awareness will take you places.
What
So,
about
see, financial planning and investments may not be as exciting or interesting as planning for a holiday or even shopping for that matter.
Yes.
But it can be liberating, it can be rewarding. So you could still find some excitement. What about not just planning for your holiday? What about sponsoring that yourself? And that does not take too much effort, if you consciously think about it, and I said, identify those goals and go about planning it. You can not only plan a good Europe vacation, you can also sponsor that. Will that excite you?
Absolutely. All right. So we have a lot of women here today with us in the audience. I'm going to ask all of you to go ahead and ask your questions to the experts. Just raise your hand if you have a question and the mic will come to you, please. All right. Can we have the mic?
I would like to know, do you have a joint account for mutual fund, and if yes, how to go about it?
So basically, mutual funds, if you're doing any kind of investments into mutual funds, you can definitely have a joint account. I would suggest you to have a anyone or survivor option in that, wherein both of them are equally invested, and if anyone is not there in future, the fund or the investment still stays till whatever time you want to keep it invested. So joint investment in mutual funds, yes, definitely you should go ahead with that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would like to know that how do I invest my small savings in the right mutual funds?
Okay. How do you identify a good fund?
Okay. Small investment, mutual fund investments actually start as low as 500 rupees in the systematic investment plans. Right, 500 rupees per month is something that you can make. Lump sum investments typically start at 5,000 rupees, which I'm sure you will agree is an equally small amount, right? Of course, as I mentioned to you, there are different types of funds. While the sheer number of funds could be too many, the broad categories are fairly simple: equity, debt, and anything in between. So you can choose funds which have 70% equity, 50% equity, 30% equity, right? So the right combination of how much equity debt you need to have, and therefore what kind of funds you need to select, there has to be some effort in terms of identifying them, So if you have the wherewithal to do that yourself, it is still doable. You can go to a lot of websites which offer those kind of services where data is available. These days information is freely available, right? You can do that. If you need some help, there are people like Pooja and lot many others who can also help you do that. So they are called financial advisors. They will help you identify your goals, help you, kind of plan for them, help you review them time to time, and ensure that they coach you to achieving those goals. So that's also a very good option that you have.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Pooja, for joining us on the show today. Well, with that, it's the end of another episode of Mutual Fund Day Life Hacks on CNBC TV-18. Hope these insights help you manage and grow your money better. We'll be back next time with lots more. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.
Reliance Mutual Fund and CNBC TV-18 present Mutual Fund Day, Mission Prosperity.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.